So espresso, and why do I think there's stuff in common? So espresso is both a drink and a method of producing coffee, or a coffee drink, I guess, which is really interesting because, there's been some misconceptions about espresso still to this day. So for example, like espresso roast, for example, there's no such thing. I think that's just a common misnomer. The reason why I say that is because espresso is a coffee brewing method. So, it's a brewing method, but it's also the drink. Like when you get a double shot of espresso, the drink is called espresso, but really it's a coffee brewing method before anything else. So having an espresso roast doesn't really make any sense because if, that would be like having like automatic drip roast or French press roast. So espresso, Italian origin, and you take a small amount of near boiling water and you force it through basically a small amount of coffee that's compressed. So that's why if you ever see like baristas like tamping down the coffee, they're making like a small puck. You're forcing near boiling water through that puck of coffee grounds, and you're using pressure. And that pressure is 9 to about 10 bars. So those bars are units of measure for pressure. And then you force all that water at that pressure through the coffee, and then you get your shot or your double shot. And espresso coffee can be made with like a wide variety of roasted coffee beans. So again, that whole espresso roast thing, like please don't think that like a proper shot of espresso has to be made with an espresso roast. That's not really a thing. You can make with light roast, dark roast, different types of coffee beans, and what's fun about that is that you're gonna get different types of taste. So you're gonna get maybe something more acidic, maybe something more sweet, just based on the type of roast and the type of coffee you're getting. It's the most common way of making coffee in Southern Europe. Also, Italy, France, Spain, Portugal. It's also popular in Switzerland, Croatia, Greece, Australia, and in America. So espresso is popular everywhere as far as a brewing method goes. It's generally thicker than coffee, brewed by other methods. It's got like this viscosity. It's also got crema. So if you ever see like that light caramel layer on top, that is the crema. And what's interesting about espresso in such like a short, incised drink, there's different layers and layers of complexity to flavor when it comes to espresso. And really the strength, or when people say, hey, it's very strong, that could be one of two things. One, you are forcing water through a very small amount of water at high pressure through a very small condensed coffee, and then you're getting your shot. So there is a misconception in the sense of people think like, oh, espresso is going to be strong, but it actually has less caffeine than you would get in like a regular mug of coffee. But I think where that misconception is maybe sometimes espresso is not brewed correctly and ends up being acidic, and people associate that acidity or like that bitterness. There's a difference between acidity and bitterness, right? Like they get that bitterness if the espresso is not made correctly, and they think all espresso tastes like that, which is definitely not the case. So that's another thing, is that if every espresso tastes completely bitter to you, could be brewing it wrong. Maybe the cafe you go to is not brewing it correctly. I would say try different cafes. And keep in mind, it's meant to be enjoyed, at least as far as like just pure espresso, it's meant to be enjoyed quickly. You're not supposed to try and sip on it all day. It's only so much liquid anyway. I just enjoyed mine, as you can see, because the more you let it linger, the more the flavor is going to change. So just like the 45 RPM, see, now we're tying everything together. The 45 record, the 45 RPM record, the 7-inch. It's just a little bit of music for you to enjoy. The espresso is a little bit of coffee for you to enjoy. And if you wonder about, its origin, as far as that goes, Angelo Moriando, sorry, I was trying to pronounce that correctly, from Turin. He's credited, as I was doing some research for this, there's been like couple of things where it's like he may not have been the first guy, but he's the guy that's like the most popular as far as being credited with the invention of espresso, because he patented a steam-driven coffee beverage making device in 1884. Probably the first Italian one that was similar to the ones that were made like by the French and the English. So he's credited. Hey, what's up, Wim? And he's like the first guy credited, but there's also another gentleman, Luigi Bezzera, from Milan, where he patented what was. Apparently, there's no audio. Well, that should not be happening because I can hear the audio and it's being recorded. Oh, that's you. Okay. Well, had me scared there for a minute. But Luigi Bezzera from Milan, he made a lot of improvements to that first machine. So the way we think about espresso in the modern sense, thank that gentleman, Luigi Bezzera, in 1901 with his patents, with all the improvements made. But him and Angelo Moriando invented the steam-driven machines. If you ever get to see one, those things are gargantuan. I think you can see them at like Mario Batali's Italy, but they're insane looking. They're just like these gargantuan machines. They're like very pretty to look at, but they look very complicated, and they just look like steam coming out of them. Like I get afraid that they could like blow up at any second. And we've gone to that big gargantuan thing to like this small manual driven analog espresso.